Let me tell you something strange. There are millions of people around the world who can watch English movies. They can understand English podcasts. They can read English articles. They can even explain English grammar. But when someone asks them a simple question, they suddenly become silent.
That sounds painfully familiar.
Seriously, someone asks, "How was your weekend?" And your brain responds, "Please wait, loading."
Exactly. The answer is in my head. I know the answer, but it takes forever to come out.
And that's what makes this so frustrating, because the problem isn't that you don't know English. The problem is that you can't access it fast enough. Imagine you're sitting in a coffee shop. You're feeling confident. You've been learning English for years. You've watched hundreds of YouTube videos. You've completed grammar exercises. You've memorized vocabulary. Life is good. Then suddenly, a foreigner sits next to you, smiles, and asks, "Hey, where are you from?" Simple question. 3 seconds. That's all it takes. And suddenly, your confidence disappears.
Why is that so true? 5 minutes ago, I was an English expert. Now I can't even remember my own name.
Now, here's the interesting part. Most learners think, my grammar isn't good enough, my vocabulary isn't big enough, my pronunciation isn't good enough. But after helping hundreds of learners, I've discovered something surprising. Most people already know enough English to have a basic conversation.
Wait, are you saying the problem isn't English?
Exactly. The problem is something else, something most learners do every single day without realizing it. Let's test everyone listening. Ready?
Let's do it.
What color is the sky?
Blue.
What do you drink in the morning?
Coffee.
What day comes after Monday?
Tuesday.
Notice how fast you answered?
Yeah, I didn't even think.
Exactly, because you weren't translating. And that's where today's episode begins, because the biggest breakthrough in my English journey happened the day I realized I wasn't speaking English, I was translating English, and those are two completely different things.
Wow, that's interesting because now that I think about it, every time I struggle to speak, I'm translating.
Exactly. And today, I'm going to show you how I broke that habit, how I stopped translating, and how I finally started thinking in English naturally. Here's a myth many learners believe. They think, if I learn more grammar, I'll become fluent. If I memorize more words, I'll become fluent. If I buy another English course, I'll become fluent. But many learners already know enough English to start speaking. They just don't trust themselves.
That hits hard because I always feel like I need to learn more before I speak.
And that's the trap. You keep preparing, but never performing. Let me ask you something. If I watch football every day for 5 years, will I become Cristiano Ronaldo?
Not even close.
Why not? I've watched thousands of matches. I know the rules. I know the players. I know the strategies.
Because watching football and playing football are different things.
Exactly. And understanding English and speaking English are different skills. One is receiving, the other is producing. One is watching, the other is playing.
So you're saying for years I thought I had a speaking problem, but actually I have a translation problem.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And once I understood that, everything changed because I stopped trying to become perfect and started trying to become faster, more natural, more confident.
And that's when you started thinking in English?
Exactly. But it didn't happen overnight. There was one moment that completely changed the way I looked at language learning. And honestly, I wish someone had told me this years earlier.
Okay, now you have to tell me what happened.
Let me tell you the story that changed everything.
Okay, now you've got me curious. You said there was one moment that completely changed the way you learned English. What happened?
Well, a few years ago, I thought I was pretty good at English. I had studied grammar, I had memorized vocabulary, I watched English movies almost every day, and honestly, I felt confident, at least until one particular day.
Uh-oh, that doesn't sound good.
It wasn't. One day, I met a tourist who spoke English, and for the first time, I had to use English in a real conversation. Not in a classroom, not in an app, a real conversation.
And?
The tourist smiled and asked me, "Hi, how's your day going?" Simple question, very simple. A question I had seen hundreds of times.
What did he say?
Nothing.
No way!
Seriously, for about 5 seconds, my brain completely froze. Now, 5 seconds doesn't sound like much, but in a conversation, 5 seconds feels like 5 years.
That's true. The silence feels so awkward.
Exactly. And while the tourist was waiting, my brain was doing gymnastics. It sounded something like this. Okay, what did he ask? How's your day going? Translate it. Okay, I understand. Now answer. My day is good? No, wait, should I say my day is good? Maybe I'm good? No, that's wrong. What if my grammar is bad? What if he doesn't understand me? What if I sound stupid?
That sounds exactly like my brain.
And by the time I was ready, the conversation had already become uncomfortable. Afterward, I went home feeling frustrated. I kept asking myself, why did that happen? I knew the words, I understood the question, so why couldn't I answer quickly?
That's a great question. Why couldn't you?
Because I wasn't speaking English. I was translating English. And there's a huge difference. A few days later, I came across an interview with a polyglot. You know, those people who speak 5, 6, 7 languages.
The people who make the rest of us feel lazy?
Exactly. And he said something I'll never forget. He said, the day you stop translating is the day you start becoming fluent.
Wow, that's powerful.
When I heard that, everything suddenly made sense. Because for years, I thought fluency meant learning more words, more grammar, more rules. But that wasn't my problem. My problem was speed. Think about this. When I say cup of coffee, what appears in your mind?
A cup of coffee.
Exactly. You don't need to translate it. You just see it. That's how fluent thinking works. Direct connection. Word to meaning. No middleman. So I decided to try something different. For 1 week, just 1 week, I stopped translating simple things. Whenever I saw a chair, I thought, chair. Not the word in my language, chair. When I saw a window, window. Door, phone, table, cup, coffee.
So you were teaching your brain to think directly in English.
Exactly. And something amazing happened. At first, it felt strange, very strange, like learning to walk again. But after a few days, my brain started responding faster. Words appeared more quickly. Sentences came more naturally. And for the first time, English felt less like a subject and more like a language.
Did you suddenly become fluent?
No, not even close. I still made mistakes, lots of mistakes. But here's what changed. I stopped being afraid of them.
That's huge.
Because before, every sentence felt like an exam. Now, it felt like communication, and that's a completely different experience. I want everyone listening to remember this. Fluency doesn't happen when you know every word. Fluency happens when your brain stops translating every word.
Okay, this is making so much sense now. You didn't become better by learning more English. You became better by using English differently.
Exactly. And the best part? Anyone can do it. You don't need expensive courses. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need a native speaker. You just need a few simple habits.
And that's what we're going to talk about next?
Exactly.
Okay, you've convinced me. Translation is slowing me down. But now I need practical help. What exactly did you do every day? Because I think many listeners are asking the same question.
That's fair. And here's the good news. I didn't study 6 hours a day. I didn't memorize thousands of words. I simply changed a few daily habits. Small habits, big results. Let's start with the easiest one. Look around you right now. What do you see?
A microphone, a laptop, a chair, a table.
Perfect. Now here's the important part. Don't translate. Just identify. Microphone, laptop, chair, table, directly.
That seems too simple.
I know, but remember, the goal is not vocabulary. The goal is direct thinking. You're teaching your brain English word equals meaning, not English word, native language equals meaning. One day, I walked into my kitchen and started naming everything. Spoon, fork, plate, cup, fridge.
What happened if someone saw you?
They'd probably think I escaped from somewhere. This habit changed everything for me. I started talking to myself.
Wait, that's either genius or crazy.
Maybe both. But listen, imagine you're making breakfast. Instead of staying silent, say, I'm making tea. I'm cutting bread. I'm washing the dishes. I'm getting ready for work.
So you're creating speaking practice from daily life.
Exactly. And the best part, you don't need a partner.
I think many learners make this mistake. They try to think complicated thoughts.
Exactly. People want to think like philosophers on day one. Start simple, very simple. Examples. I'm hungry. I'm tired. It's hot today. This coffee is good. I need to go shopping. That's it. Simple thoughts, simple English. Every evening, I spent 2 minutes describing my day.
Only 2 minutes?
Yes, something like, I woke up at 7, I had breakfast, I went to work, I met a friend, I watched a movie. Simple, but powerful.
Because you're turning your life into English.
Exactly, and you're using vocabulary you actually need. This was my favorite exercise. Every day, I picked one topic and spoke about it for 1 minute without stopping.
1 minute sounds easy.
Try it. 1 minute feels very long when you're speaking. Topic, my favorite food. You start, my favorite food is pizza because, then keep talking. No stopping, no translating, no worrying. Just keep speaking. And here's the rule, never stop to correct mistakes.
Really? Even if I know it's wrong?
Yes, because during speaking practice, fluency comes first, correction comes later.
How long did it take before you noticed improvement?
Honestly, about 2 weeks. Not fluency, not perfection, but improvement. I started answering faster, thinking faster, speaking faster. The pauses became shorter, and conversations felt less scary. And then I realized something. Most learners don't need more English. They need more English output.
Output. I like that word because most of us focus on input. Videos, movies, podcasts, books.
Exactly. Input is important, but if you never use what you learn, your speaking won't grow. I want everyone listening to remember this. English is not a subject to study. It's a skill to practice.
That's probably the most important lesson of today's episode.
And before we finish, I want to give every listener a challenge that could completely change their English over the next 7 days.
Now I'm interested. What's the challenge? All right, you've explained the problem, you've shared the habits, now it's time for the challenge. Because I know there are people listening right now thinking, this sounds great, but where do I start?
Exactly, and that's why I created something simple. Not a 90-day challenge, not a 30-day challenge, just 7 days. Because sometimes 1 week is enough to change a habit. On day 1, I want you to do one thing. Name everything around you in English. That's it. Look around. Chair, phone, door, window, table, cup, shoes, fan. Simple.
No translating?
No translating, just direct recognition. Day 2 is all about simple thoughts. Examples, I'm hungry. I'm tired. It's raining. I need coffee. The food smells good.
So we're teaching the brain to think naturally.
Exactly. Small thoughts, big results. On day 3, become the narrator of your life. When you're cooking, I'm cutting vegetables. I'm making tea. I'm washing dishes. When you're walking, I'm going to the store. The weather is nice. There are many people here.
I still feel a little crazy doing that.
Trust me, fluent English sometimes starts with looking a little crazy. Now we're leveling up. Describe your room for 1 minute. What do you see? What colors are there? What objects are there? What do you use every day?
And if I don't know a word?
Use easier words. Keep talking. Never stop. This is one of the most powerful exercises. Talk about your day, morning, afternoon, evening, simple past tense. Examples, I woke up at 7. I had breakfast. I went to work. I watched a movie.
That sounds like real-life English.
Because it is. This is where most people get uncomfortable. Record yourself speaking for 1 minute. Then listen.
I already hate this challenge.
Everyone does, but it's incredibly powerful. You'll discover pronunciation mistakes, repeated words, long pauses, and you'll also discover something else. You're probably better than you think. On the final day, try speaking for 2 full minutes. No translation, no dictionary, no stopping. Just English.
2 minutes sounds easy.
It sounds easy until the timer starts.
You know what I love about this challenge? It's practical. Anyone can do it.
Exactly, because fluency doesn't come from complicated methods. It comes from consistent practice. 5 minutes today, 5 minutes tomorrow, 5 minutes next week. That's how fluent speakers are made.
You know, when we started this episode, I thought my biggest problem was English. Now I realized my biggest problem was my habit of translating everything.
And that's a huge realization, because once you identify the real problem, you can finally solve it. Before we end, I want to tell everyone listening something important. Imagine 2 English learners. The first learner studies grammar for 2 hours every day. The second learner studies grammar for 30 minutes, but speaks English for 30 minutes every day. 1 year later, who do you think speaks better?
The second learner, without a doubt.
Exactly, because speaking improves speaking, not just studying. And I want everyone listening to remember this quote. You don't become fluent when you know more English. You become fluent when you start using the English you already know.
That's probably the most important sentence from today's episode.
If today's episode helped you understand why speaking English feels difficult, share it with a friend who's struggling with the same problem.
And if you're taking the 7-day Think in English challenge, let us know in the comments. Day 1 starts today, not tomorrow, today.
Remember, stop translating, start thinking.
Start thinking, start speaking, start improving.
We'll see you in the next episode of the Easy English Podcast.
Take
care and keep practicing English.